5:30, I'll call to order the meeting of the Fitchburg Board of Public Works on May 3rd. Attending tonight in chamber, Jim Wheeler, myself, Dave Herbst, Dave Wilborn, and via Zoom, Michael Gronetsky and Kim Lobdell. So we have our full complement of board members tonight. So public appearances for non-agenda items, we have no one registered to speak and no one in chambers. So I'll move us to agenda item 3, approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the April 19th, 2021 meeting minutes?
I so move, but I'd like to make a change because I must have a typographical error here because it says motion to approve made by Lobdell and second by second. There must have been somebody to second it.
I suspect you're right. Who was here? Kim? There were only Kim, Sarah, I, and Michael. Can we amend that to show a second by Lobdell? Who made the motion?
Lobdell made the motion.
Let's make a second by Gronetsky then.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we have a motion to approve that change to the minutes.
I so move we would approve that change.
All right. We have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? First, we'll vote on the motion. All in favor of the amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then the approval of the minutes, approval of the amended April 29th, 2021 meeting minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Minutes are approved. Next, number 4, report from department, Mr. Bill Balke.
Thank you. We've got a lot of construction that's happening out there in our community with Fitchburg Road. We got the pathway opened up from the Cap City Trail back down to Key Road, so you're able to, or Glacial Valley, so you're able to use that pathway instead of crossing the road to at KO Main across Fitchburg Road. So that was opened up on Friday and has been in use. East Cheryl Parkway, our construction over there is underway. They poured the curb and gutter this morning up there on the north side. So within the next week and a half, they'll be paving that area and then switching over to the south side and doing the same thing over there. That's the construction that will have some bump outs for pedestrian safety increases for that area, where it's just reducing the crossing time for the street in that area. And then after they get the sidewalk and those curb bump outs done, they'll be moving on to doing the repaving of that, and that should be early June. The northeast water main loop over on West Clayton Road, West Clayton Road, is being constructed right now, and we'll be paving that probably in June. Everybody's been really nice to work with up there as far as getting their surfaces located and in the spot where they can hook up. So, working with the residents up there has been, very, very favorable for the city and the residents. They're continuing to work on County Highway MM for the water main extension over there. So that one's progressing as well. The resurfacing contract will be going out hopefully within the next 2 weeks to do the resurfacing for Sain Road. And I think we're doing Irish Lane between Sain and Highway 14, I think that's one of them. Haight Farm Road is another extension or resurfacing for that project over there. So we're getting those designs finished up so that we can get those out for bid. The subdivisions for Stone Prairie, for Crescent Crossing are underway. They're pouring curb and gutter for Stone Prairie. Utilities are being completed up there for Crescent Crossing. They plan on doing some sidewalk up there within the next week or so, depending on the weather. And Terravesa, that one's progressing as well for the first edition, completing some grading up there for curb and gutter, sidewalks. So they're moving along up there to get those lots or that subdivision completed as well. What else we got going on? Well, Sain Road and Lacey Road, the Sain Road construction, that would be the reconstruction between Lacey Road and McCoy Road. We're still revising the cross sections up there. We've had some neighborhood meetings, stakeholder meetings up there to, get more feedback individually from individual groups. So, we're narrowing things down and getting ready to go out for a cross section to come through Transportation and Transit Commission, the Board of Public Works. As a typical section, there's probably going to be a few of them up there because there's an area that's kind of a rural area, there's an urban area, there's an urban area with parking. So there's a few different sections up there that we're looking at. Still haven't determined whether or not we're going to do a roundabout or traffic signals at the intersection of East Cheryl and Sain Road. We're also looking at tonight's agenda at the intersection of Lacey Road and Sain, that we're looking at some contracts for the railroad for the improvements that are going to be needed there, and also some potential for burying the power lines for that in the area of that intersection related to the railroad crossing. Up at McCoy, that intersection has changed a few times. We're looking at a roundabout, we're looking at a traffic signal, we're looking at a continuous, I forget what it's called, a continuous something intersection where you can bypass, there's a bypass lane for traffic up there. And so we're evaluating those options. There's several alternatives up there for that. And yeah, that's a lot of things that we've been doing. We've been busy with the street sweeping program, repairing all the grass that may have gotten torn up from snow plowing and salt damage, and pothole patching, getting ready to do some skim coating or leveling coats on some of the areas for streets that can use that maintenance method going forward. So yeah, we're pretty busy here in the engineering and public works.
Any questions for Bill?
All right.
I had one, Bill. I don't know if someone can.
Swing down the intersection of, at Lacey and Seminole, the silt fence there. Looks like it's been overwhelmed there, right? It's, the water is it's bent down and the water's flowing over it kind of in the middle section there. I don't know if it failed or exactly what's going on right at that spot there, but it doesn't look right.
I'm sorry, what was you cut out on the first.
Okay. Bill, so at Seminole and Lacey, the silt fence on the Cathedral Point side of the road there, the silt fence, it looks like it's either torn or bent down. The water was just pouring over the top of it. I know where the culverts go out there, and I don't know if it failed. Ask the developer to look at that. It doesn't look right, I guess is all I would say.
Sure. Is this from the rainfall today?
Yes. I just drove by on the way over here tonight. I was paying particular attention.
Yeah, it was all up this morning, so it was just a lot of water that came through, and they'll be going out there and repairing all of that as soon as they can.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Thank you, Bill. Next, we're on to our agenda items. Our first one, agenda item 5A, Resolution R 9421, approving a memorandum of understanding between the city and Dane County regarding a new stilling basin on county property. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Gronetsky. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Lobdell. Bill, do we have anything like this on the city right now? Something called a stilling basin, or I'm guessing it's more like a catch. Is a catch basin a similar word, I guess?
Well, it's an area, it's kind of like a settlement pond where it's dug out a little bit deeper than the surrounding area for the water the stormwater to settle out any particles before it gets into an area of cleaner water, like the wetland that's adjacent to it. So what we have here is along West Clayton Road The city has a culvert and a ditch through there, and then it crosses West Clayton and goes into the wetland to the north, which is owned by Dane County as an environmental corridor. Um, the culvert that we had in there was kind of submerged, so it was acting as a settlement pond kind of, but it used the pipe to do that. It was backing up into the pipe and plugging up. So as we're redoing the roadway over there, we are going to be installing the stilling basin, which would allow the water to, all the particles in there, some of them that settle out in that basin so that it doesn't get into the wetlands. And since it's Danes County's land, they were requesting this to be installed to protect the wetlands, and the city has agreed to do this. The memorandum of understanding with Dane County that's before you tonight is just requesting, it's formalizing, maintenance responsibility, construction responsibilities and things like that. There's no cost to the city to do this. And at any point, Dane County could say, we don't want the stilling basin anymore, and the agreement would be void. So this is something that they're requiring as part of our construction there, just to protect the wetlands that are installed there.
Thank you, Bill. Questions for Bill?
Excuse me, Bill, did you say it was no cost to the city for that?
Well, there's no ongoing cost. There is a cost of construction to dig it out and put in some riprap and do the ditching there. But other than that, we're not required to get an easement from Dane County and purchase an easement or anything like that. No land transactions.
Okay.
Thank you.
I had a question on the time period in was it in the resolution that it says something about for the time period of this resolution, I didn't see a time terms of this agreement with a time frame, and I didn't see a time frame in here, but you're saying that it just goes until Dane County says they don't want it anymore, or else it could go into perpetuity?
That's correct. Yeah, what you just said.
Okay.
Am I correct that, Kim, are you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, yes, I'm finished.
Okay.
That was my other question, was on the time frame.
Okay. So am I correct, this is relatively small, like 1,500 square feet, size of a house, approximately?
Correct.
And the stilling basin, if we had to, is that a concrete bottom on there, Bill? Or it talks about having to muck it out. Is that easily done,
Well, yeah, I think what we'd have to do is remove the riprap that would be in that area and then just dig it back out again. We've got the equipment to be able to do that and reach it, so
Okay.
there wouldn't be any more disturbance in that area.
Okay. No permits or any environmental impact statements or things that would bleed us dry? Okay. Any other questions? All right, then I'm going to call the vote. All in favor of resolution R 94-21, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I'm sorry, opposed? No, okay. Next, agenda item 5B, resolution R 7621, approving contract with EOR for a stormwater flood study near Cheryl Drive. We have a motion to approve R 7621.
I'll move to approve resolution R 76-21.
Moved by Lobdell, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by, was that you, Jim? Oh, second by Gronetsky. Okay, thank you. All right. Bill, can you give us the background on this?
Sure. Are you seeing a map of the
Yes.
area right now?
Yes, we are.
All
Yes.
right. So this is we have two known flooding locations that are in the area. One at the intersection of Pembroke and Charleston, and the other one is just to the west of Jacqueline Drive. These are two areas that are fed into two swales that converge, and then they go into McKee Farms Park. There's quite of a large drainage area to the east and to the west of the two swales that accept this water. And there's quite frequent events that we've had over the past few years where the water will flood that intersection with several feet of stormwater. And to determine whether or not, it's a capacity issue of the inlets, that the water comes to this area and we can't get the water into the pipes fast enough, or is it a backup area where the water in the park actually gets high enough where it backs out of the inlets in the street. And I was just out driving around for the past hour or so before this meeting tonight, just trying to get an idea of where all this water's coming from. And in this particular storm, there was a lot of water that was coming from the west, comes down Raritan. The catch basins there were underwater. They weren't accepting any water, it was all bypassing. But by the time it got down to Richardson, the catch basins along the way and at that intersection were accepting, the majority of that storm and putting it into the pipe where it would go to the swale that would go into McKee Farms Park. It was, so we've got, trying to figure out, whether it's the park is backing the water up or we can't get the water into the ground fast enough. And then we've also got the area that's just to the west of Jacqueline Drive, that water did pond in the road. It was up over the curb. And that was a backwater issue where the water in the swale was as high as the water in the street. So when you get an issue over there, the grade wasn't enough to be able to accept that water and get it downstream. So this study here is looking at, these two big regional drainage basins that come together in McKee Farms Park. They converge, and whether or not we can do something to get the water out of the streets at Charleston, or can we, do we have to look at something larger downstream from there right now? Where it says the anticipated downstream model end is where there's 5 culverts that go underneath the path there. And when I was out there today, it was within 3 inches of capacity. So there's about 3 inches left within those culverts, that was causing the water to back up in near that Jacqueline area at Pembroke or Cheryl Parkway. So we're going to be studying that area to determine, what can we do at those culverts possibly to make sure that the water can be conveyed downstream from there. And then there's one more issue within the study budget is, well, since we've got, the 143 acres and the 17 and the 18 acres coming together, how does this look even bigger for McKee Farms, the entire drainage basin? Because we've got a lot more stormwater that comes together in the McKee Farms Park that potentially could back up that water even more. There's a large area here by City Hall going all the way back to Burn Drive or Berlin Park Drive that all comes towards McKee Farms Park. And when we get these very, very large storms, that could cause a backup, which would cause a lot of the park to be underwater. And there's really not much we can do about it other than just wait for the water to go down. But we are looking for some fixes to help with the capacity to try to get the water into the pipes. And we may have to do some additional work within the park to get the water to flow out of those swales to allow the water to get into the pipes. The second part of the study, or I guess a third part of the study, would be to take a look at some drainage issues that people are having within their backyards. There's a lot of this area in the study area do not have, storm sewer outlets or inlets that can take the water and put it in the ground. A lot of the areas are they have to put their sump pump water out to the street. Or if they drain it to their backyards, it just goes from backyard to backyard, and the people at the bottom of the hill are getting a lot of that water, stormwater, that pools in their backyard that, they have to account for. So we were asked to take a look and try to determine, come up with a policy that we could implement within the city to take care of some of these backyard drainage issues that people are having in these areas and what that might look like. So that's part of the study as well. So the funding that we're looking at for this project is broken into two areas. One of them being a capital for the stormwater study, to study, the stormwater impacts and the capital that's needed to do that. And the other part is the study for the backyard drainage. And that's why we're breaking the funding into two different projects. One is more of well, it's not a nuisance, but it could be termed as a nuisance flooding issue with neighbors that can't be resolved on their own. And the other one is a public safety issue with the flooding in the street, with emergency access and things like that we're funding through our capital flood study. So that's the study that we're looking at for this project, and looking for input and possibly board approval on it.
Thank you, Bill. Let's open up for questions to Bill.
Yeah, Bill, as part of the backyard drainage, are we gonna be looking at anything that might be obstructing that natural flow, however that's determined? People that have put up storage sheds or whatever that's blocking the flow.
Yeah, I think what the program would possibly entail is the city kicking off any capital expense to provide a solution that they could take, that the neighbors could take and expand on. Like we would install a pipe to a lot line or a corner, and if the drainage issue was truly all the way through the backyards, that would be something possibly that all the owners adjacent to that drainage way would take and run the pipe up the hill, so to say, to take care of those drainage issues. Some of the older plats don't have drainage easements in their backyards, so it's but they do have drainage arrows. Like you said, it's difficult when 30 years ago, over 30 years, people have installed gardens and sheds and things like that in that area that was supposed to be used for drainage. But we're looking to try to get something in on the bottom, the bottom hillside of things where we can, and then hopefully the neighbors would work together to be able to take that and make it work.
And I know we've had discussions very recently about city's policy and handling those sorts of things where a neighbor is blocking or is impeding the natural flow, either uphill, downhill, or wherever the water is going to go. I don't recall, did we ever land on, are there ordinances for that? Were there fines? Were there letters? What does that currently look like?
That's something that I need to work on with
Okay.
the board. I was supposed to come up with a form for property owners to fill out to lodge their drainage concern, and whether or not the city could do anything about that.
And I assume that this is kind of a classic example of where that would fit in. Do we have like neighbors that are kind of complaining, or has this been on the radar for quite some time?
It's a combination of both. It's essentially, we've got areas where all the drainage comes down to the bottom of the hill, and it kind of sits there because it doesn't have any place to go. And so we're looking to try to take care of those issues there, and if we can extend it up the hill into others, that's something we'd be looking to do.
Bill, I have a question. I see that one car was actually affected by this. The person got water in the car driving through the area. Is that the only reason this is being moved up a year? Or are there other factors?
Well, we've got these issues throughout the community, and it's not just an isolated case. So we're looking to try to come up with a policy that we can consistently apply throughout the community and not just do a case by case. That we do one way, we would apply, a solution one way versus another for different locations. We're just trying to get some consistency if we were to go down that road for future flood studies.
Okay, thank you.
This was originally scheduled for 2022. I think that was his question. It got moved up to 2021. What was the reason for accelerating it a year? Because that's what it is, like a budget amendment, right? Has to be approved because it's moved up in the capital improvement plan from 2022 to 2021.
Right. It was asked to be moved up and to take care of this issue as soon as we can. We had the money available in the flood study to do this. So that's what the money is there for, to do this.
Did this go out as a separate RFP, or did you make this selection from your engineering services list that for general engineering services for the city?
That was from the general engineering services that we had put out.
No,
And I
no.
apologize,
just
Bill, I
explain
wasn't at that
one.
meeting, but the stormwater fund, is that the fund that recently got, what was it, 38% increase on that?
Yes.
I understand about the consistency, that one vehicle, my neighborhood, it maybe happened tonight, I don't know, every so often, Whitney Way and Williamsburg and King James Way flood. And it's just the pipe going out of the neighborhood to Goose Lake, only a certain size, and once it's filled up, and the water goes out eventually, it might be 15 minutes, half hour, the rain stops and it goes down, but cars have gotten stuck in there, been impassable, but, I won't advocate for us spending any money on that. I'm just wondering, is this the same case? The first meeting that Dave Wilborn and I ever attended was in this same neighborhood and the neighbors with the pitchforks and torches. And they paid their money and this and that, there's no storm sewer in there. They didn't pay for that when it went in. And, I appreciate the problem, but they're gonna want me to pay for their stormwater issue again. And I don't know as if there's a solution, Bill, to be honest with you. I guess the study we can see, we have a limited amount of land for the water to go and grades, and I think we overbuilt. We have too much impervious surface for.
Overbuilt, or we didn't put big enough storm sewer low enough to handle it.
I don't know where we go any lower. You could dredge down to the water table. Again, back to the question, that Jim asked, is the one car the driver, that one car was seen not getting through? Because like I say, I've seen that in my neighborhood at least a half dozen times, every couple of years it happens. Maybe it is right now.
So what are you asking? Why is it this study being done here and not in other parts of the city?
Exactly,
I'm not
Kim.
understanding what your
Yeah,
question
yes, that is. Is this, I'm saying, is this, is it urgent? Is it needed? I'm concerned about our stormwater rates and flash floods, we can't, it's impossible to have no stormwater issues. I'll just say that, unless we want to tax ourselves into oblivion and raise all our houses and streets higher. And is this any different than other areas in the city? I guess I'm constantly, our entire time here, we've been dealing with stormwater right here, and we've spent a lot of money on different things. It's never going away, you know, I'm not blaming anyone, but I just think,
See, it keeps coming back at us.
yes, I guess what I'm asking you, Bill, do we have, is there any hope, you know, is there any light at the end of the tunnel that, or have another study that says, well, we're just gonna have to deal with it?
What my hope is that it would be like an abbreviated quick study to say it wouldn't, you know, involve the entire cost of it, that we'd be able to make a determination pretty quick to say, yeah, there's really nothing we can do in this area as far as flooding. Our pipes are too small. The park, we'd have, you know, the problems in the park. We can't really do anything about it. So, you know, to make that determination pretty quickly. We do have the flooding, like you mentioned, there is flooding throughout the whole community, and there's probably a half a dozen places, as you had mentioned, throughout the community that really should be looked at and prioritized for, you know, flooding. We've got one over on Crescent. We've got another one that's, like you said, over on Williamsburg and up there. And, yeah, Williamsburg. So, yeah, there's areas all over the city that have this, and it just happens that we have the money in the budget to take a look at these as kind of a quick response when there's a priority or a need that's being brought forward. And right now, we really don't have a prioritization on all of those, but it's pretty much, you know, if we can get it done and we can, you know, study it or get some quick fix done, that's what we're looking to try to do with this flood study.
Thank you for that explanation.
Is dredging additional ponds in that park an option for more capacity, or is that not our issue here? I was trying to follow all the different places where the water was going here, and
Dredging, it works a little bit to relieve some of the capacity or to restore some of it, but mainly, you know, once the water goes up to the high water level line, you're not really looking at capacity that's already underwater.
okay.
It would have to come from expanding the ponds, and whether we need to do that or not.
Is there, I guess my question, I believe we have room in the park if we wanted to expand ponds. Am I correct, or there's a lot of land in the park, I guess?
Depends on which director you ask.
Okay, all right.
Well,
Okay.
isn't that sort of what this study is being done for, to look at what different options there could be to increase the capacity? So that's part of the study, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's correct.
okay.
So
All right, I'll
we can't
shut
answer
up.
that until after they do the study, right?
Yeah.
Right.
All right, any other questions?
Just maybe a general comment too, in the kind of prioritization because funds are available. I'm not sure, and I know that we're working on this kind of long term as well, but if funds are available in the stormwater rate, that's great. What that's just kind of instinctually telling me is that we're either not able to get to products and therefore maybe we should keep that rate a little bit lower in the future, or we've got something else that got bumped that maybe wasn't a priority, which I guess is a good problem to have sometimes. But it just kind of goes back to that prioritization, and Bill, you do an outstanding job of working through that prioritization. But if it's kind of one of those other things of, you know, we have this in the budget, so let's just do it now, that tells me that either the budget is too high or we've got additional bandwidth somewhere in the pipeline, pun intended, to kind of get some of this stuff going. And then I know whatever the solution is, that's fine, but it just kind of seems like there's a little bit of a delta there that maybe could be addressed without raising rates in the future.
Thank you, Michael. Anyone else, or as we're call the vote? Okay.
I have one more
Yeah,
question.
go ahead, Jim.
So, Bill, there's not any life safety issues that we're dealing with because of the high water. It was just that we're worried about somebody getting swept away or anything. It's just that vehicle and the other things that you mentioned.
Correct. Yeah, the way we prioritize it is there's flash flooding in the streets. And it results in some short-term road closures.
Okay, thanks.
Good question, Jim. Thank you. I will call the vote. All in favor of resolution R 7621 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This page back up here again. All right, next on the agenda, we have resolution R 9521, amending 2021 park fee budget, Nine Springs Golf Course Shed Addition. We have a motion to approve.
I so move we approve resolution R-95-21.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Wheeler. Scott, are you ready to speak on this?
Sure.
Just for people, Scott Endoler is speaking now. Okay.
Good evening to all.
Hi, Scott.
This project is currently, it's a CIP project, number 6261 for the Nine Springs Golf Course. And actually, it is scheduled to be done in 2026. But what we're requesting here is that we move it up to 2021. And I actually did receive some budget estimates. We're looking at a 675-foot addition to the maintenance facility. And I did receive estimates of about $100 per square foot. And then you add onto it, we're gonna have to have some engineer come in and put together some construction documents and help us get the bid, or the project bid, for a total of estimating $75,000. And with the $21,000 that we already have allocated in the 2026 CIP, I'm proposing to add 54 to make up the difference to come to the $75,000 budget estimate that I'm estimating. And actually, if you're, I did include in your packet of information, and Bill, thank you for sharing the screen. If you're familiar with the golf course, it is adjacent to Traceway, and this is the storage facility that we're looking to add on to directly to the east. And you can, with the recent development in the area, we have received concerns about equipment and things being stored outside. So not only will this, kind of provide an opportunity to get this stuff inside, but it will also help, to try and reduce those visual concerns that residents have in the area. And I certainly can answer any questions that anyone may have.
Scott, I have a question. Did you ever look at, I see these, I can't tell you exactly what they're made out of, but you could extend that shed with like you see farmers do on stuff and get by with very little amount until we're ready to do this in 2026. Has that ever been thought about versus pushing it up and spending the money now?
If you're looking, what we're going to do is we're planning to, expand the current structure in the same building type with wood framing and the wood siding, that kind of thing. If that's what the question is, I guess I'm not quite following the question.
The question is whether or not it could be coverage made for the equipment at a least amount of money for the time being until 2026.
Yeah, I'm thinking that this is our, least expensive, option that I can see. We certainly want to maintain the look of the building and those kinds of things. So I think the best option from our perspective is just to, expand the existing facility with the same type of building form and frame and those kinds of things.
Other questions for Scott?
Do you have the money available now, Scott, to be able to do this?
Yep, and
It's budgeted in 2026?
actually, yep, we've got, this is going to be funded through fees in lieu of parkland dedication, so it's no property taxes, if you would. It's dollars that are already been collected from other developments. Nine Springs Golf Course is classified as a community park, so we are eligible to utilize fee in lieu of parkland dedication from developments to fund this kind of a project. So the dollars are there. It's not going to take any additional tax dollars. They're already collected from other developments. And if you look at the resolution, it does the last whereas clause. Park fees in lieu of land dedication were collected from the Quarry Ridge Retirement Community, which would be available for this additional $54,000. So the dollars are there. It's just a matter of doing the budget amendment, and I will let you know that it will take a 2/3 vote by the common council to do this.
Yeah.
So the dollars are already there. It's just a matter of moving it from one bucket to another bucket, if you will.
Scott, I have a question. I see where it says the Parks Department has received concerns from new developments in the area. Are these developers or are they residents?
Well, a combination of both. Certainly residents and the people that put the buildings, that develop the buildings. And I'm in agreement. And like I say, it's gonna benefit a couple different things. It'll be certainly a nicer thing to look at, but it also will, get equipment out of the weather and inside. So I think it really is gonna, be a win-win for everybody all the way around.
Okay, I agree. It also looks like there could be some safety concerns. I mean, I'm surprised it's out there like that, with the kids that are, around the area.
Yeah, people can certainly go around and, go and goof around on the stuff, that's for sure.
Scott, what was what was in the 21,000 that you had in 2026? What was that for? Obviously, it wasn't enough for this addition.
The same thing, it was kind of a shot in the dark, if you will, in regards to the amount, but it was the same idea of expanding that maintenance facility. But I apparently didn't do a very good job of estimating the cost of it.
And so the park dedication fees, park improvement fees, you've got the 21 plus the 50, let's just kind of use today numbers, 21 plus 54, that's your 75. And then would that capital property tax levy then go away as a funding source?
Capital.
So I'm looking at page 26 of the packet where
Is that the resolution?
no, I'm sorry. It's before the resolution in the packet. Looking at the 2026 expenditures, you've got 30 grand allocated for.
Yes. Yep. And actually, the 9,000 for the siding, we're not going to re-site it. So that'll be removed. We're just moving the 21,000 for the maintenance facility addition to 2021, and then adding the 54 to come up with the 75.
And then just from if we didn't do this and you still had the 54 from park dedication fees, is that something that you could hold on to? Were there other priorities?
But we could certainly hold on to it. And there's, the development that we're receiving it from, if I recall, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars that we receive fee in lieu of parkland dedication from this specific development. So I don't want to say that it's not going to hurt that account, if you would. It'll be $54,000 less, but there's still going to be significant dollars in that account.
That $75,000, it is in the city coffers right now, is what you're telling me.
Correct. It's already been collected. Just a matter of, like I say, moving the 21,000 from 2026 to 2021, and then taking an additional 54,000 from the fee in lieu of parkland dedication that was collected from the Quarry Ridge Retirement Community development, which is identified in the resolution.
I understand, it's, we have the money, there'll be another park project that needs money, and then my concern is, well, then we're coming after we won't have enough for a swing set or something else down the road.
No,
I agree that it looks bad out there, and I don't have the background that Jim does in public safety, but I think we know that kids will get in trouble around stuff that's laying out. I'll be honest with you, Scott, I'm concerned about the optics with this town of Madison staring us in the, square down the barrel of that, and, moving something ahead is, it's a little troubling for me, and trying to reconcile that.
well,
I was gonna ask, the way that I'm looking at this is, again, just kind of with the budgetary numbers. Is it a safe assumption that if we did this today, we would actually be taking and saving money, $9,000 from the taxpayers in 2026?
you would, yep.
And then using a different bucket of money that's already been collected.
Correct. And that's really what it is. It's a budget amendment, moving the $21,000 up to 26, and then taking money from the other bucket to come up with the.
And I'm saying this tongue in cheek because we've got a council member on the board now, but I would expect in 2026 that the property tax levy for the entire city of Fitchburg goes down by $9,000, and we don't have to worry about that. It won't get respent on something else.
Michael,
Just making my point.
thank you. Any other questions? Okay, before I call the vote, Scott, you're going to have to make this case in front of the council. I think you realize that. I'd ask you to have it well outlined, your thoughts and the numbers, because you'll be asked these questions again, and I think some much harder ones, okay? So just be prepared for that.
One last thing.
Go ahead, Jim.
Absolutely. And I as your staff person will make recommendations, and certainly the policymakers will decide. So that's a fair statement.
Yeah, Dave, I just wanted to add, you brought up optics. I agree with you. It was just a very long conversation on park dedication fees and where they go and how they're going to be allocated and everything else. So, and with the budget. So I do have some concerns also. So I agree with Dave, piggyback on his comments, that we're probably going to have a good discussion on this. So.
Okay. Well, any other questions? Call the vote. All in favor of resolution R 95-21 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Okay, motion passes. All right, thank you, Scott.
Likewise. Thank you.
Appreciate your
Have a good night,
time.
guys.
Appreciate your time. Next, somewhat complicated one, resolution R 99-21, resolution revoking a highway occupancy permit within the Notre Dame Drive right-of-way. We have a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Moved by Gronetsky, second by Lobdell. Bill, I'm going to let you walk us through this. I'm not smart enough to understand everything going on. Too many moving parts for me. Bill, can you walk us through this? It looks like you have the map up. I think you're still muted.
Yeah, when I go to share a screen, my whole little thing.
Oh, I see.
changes,
I
And I
see.
don't have the little mute thing anymore, so,
Well, we have the map in our packet, I believe.
yeah. So, yeah, what I was,
Or is it in our packet here? No, I don't think we have it in
did
the
not
packet.
see that. It's just the encroachment agreement. So I'm going to share the screen to give you the background on where we're at with that.
Okay.
All right, zoom in a little bit here. It's too much. So on, where we're at here is Lacey Road is up here.
Okay.
And then Notre Dame is the area that's right along the left side of the CSM. And this entire Lot 1 area is the area for the crossings, where the crossing subdivision is located, just to the east of Notre Dame Drive. And McGaw Park is located way over to the right of this area here. Fahey Fields is developing to the south of here, way down here where it says Legend. And Notre Dame will eventually connect through and to the Fahey Fields development to the south. The area that we're looking at for this encroachment is located right here. This building is a garage that is located within the Notre Dame right-of-way, approximately 3 feet. To zoom in a little bit, a little bit bigger detail of this area. Here's the building again. I'm sorry, not this one. This building here is the garage that's located within the right-of-way, about 3 feet. And we allowed the building to exist until such time as Notre Dame was going to be developed. And we've received a request from the Fitchburg Townhomes developer that they are intending to develop that their lands to the east of there, or to the west of there, and install Notre Dame Drive. So this revocable occupancy permit allowed the building to be in place until either it got destroyed to the point of 50% of the value, at which time it would have to be removed, within 60 days notice of development, pending development going in, or within 180 days of going forward. So since we've got that pending development going, we're invoking the 60-day notice, and upon approval from the city council, the owner would be served 60 days notice to remove the garage from the right-of-way. The owners asked for more than 60 days, and since it's just encroaching a little bit within the right-of-way, we could extend that out. They've asked for 90 days, which we don't think will be a problem. It might hold up a little bit of the sidewalk construction if it's, they're at that point in time, but I don't think it will. So, the owner could have a little bit more time to clear things out and have the garage removed. And we don't see a problem with doing that, but we are looking to try to get the 60-day notice clock going with the approval of this at the council meeting.
Thank you, Bill. All right, questions?
Is that the Olson property we're talking about there?
Correct.
Are they planning on trying to save that garage and move it back by their original house?
I'm not sure what their plans are. It's up to them to have it out of the right way within 60 days, whether they take it down or they pick it up and move it somewhere else. They would have to get a permit, of course, to do that and relocate it, but it's up to them.
Either they have no intention of that being tore down or anything like that because of the condos going all the way around them, right? The original house they live in, they're gonna keep that. They're no,
Yes.
okay.
Jim, you had a question?
No, no question.
Tim or Michael?
Kim or Michael, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Nope, and we've been proactive with the owners and, they're, like you said, we kind of give them a heads up already.
Yeah, we've been working with their attorney to make sure everything is followed.
Very good, thank you.
Bill, chicken and egg question. How did we get to that point? That building was there before we did. Can you give me a little insight onto that, just for my general education?
Back when the Crossings development was being considered, we required the Notre Dame right-of-way to be dedicated through the property. And the alignment that was chosen for that had a section of the garage located within there. This was something that was drafted by their surveyor for the development, and it was known at that time that the garage was located in there. It could have easily have been shifted over, but now that would impact future developments as well. So the way to handle, these encroachments is to grant a revocable occupancy, at which time, when there's pending development or it causes a safety or hazard, the city would have the rights to be able to go in there and revoke that occupancy permit and remove that hazard.
Very good, thank you. Excellent explanation. Any other questions?
Is that gonna maintain all the way back for the Olson residents then, or what? To get to their property?
I'm sorry, you cut out at the first part of it.
Is it gonna stay like a single drive all the way back to the Olson house? So they have access in and out, or is that eventually gonna turn to property that's straight to the condo and they'll be attached to it eventually in the back area somehow?
Yeah, they're going to still, the road will be extended back past their property where their driveway is located, and they'll just connect up to the new roadway then.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Bill. We'll call the vote. All in favor of resolution R 99-21 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Bill. Next, resolution R 9. Go ahead, Kim.
I'd like to recuse myself from this item.
Okay, you're one step ahead of me as usual. Thank you, Kim.
Yep.
Resolution R 9821, authorizing first amendment to the design contract with K&L Engineering for the design of County Highway MM/McCoy intersection and signal improvements. A motion to approve this resolution.
I move to approve
Okay.
resolution R 9821.
I'll second the motion for discussion. Bill, I'm going to ask a question, up front here, and then I'll let you talk, explain a little more, but what the change order they're requesting, they have identified extra work that has to be done in the engineering, and they have not done this yet. They're requesting the funds to do that. No, I'm hoping I'm going to hear a yes on this.
Most of it has been completed. There's just a small portion that has not been completed. We're at 95% submitting the plans. And we needed to get these done to keep the timeline for submitting the plans.
I understand, I'm put in a bad position. We beat up a couple of years ago. This was, before you were, where you were running the department, but we beat up the city engineer because MG&E completed the work without notifying us. Can I ask this question? Have you been made aware of these throughout the entire process of these changes, that it was going to require more funds to complete these additional tasks?
I was aware of the additional work that was needed, that the scope expanded due to changes required by the Department of Transportation for expanded detours and things like that, the environmental documentation. These are all valid changes throughout we weren't exactly sure what that would end up being, but we knew that there were changes coming.
Yeah, I'm not questioning the validity of the changes. As I read through, they all seem justified. I'm always concerned. When I work in the contracting business, that have to be made sure that they're aware of the changes. That don't do the work and then ask to be paid. And you're telling me they made you aware of these, and you've been kept abreast of this, and now we're catching up with the extra work that was required to meet the timeline.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Other questions for Bill on this?
None.
Jim, Michael? Okay,
No questions.
okay. Call the vote. All in favor of resolution R 98-21 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Good, okay. Motion carries. Next, Resolution R 91-21, approving agreement for subdivision improvements in the plat of Livia's Place. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
Motion to approve?
Moved by Granetsky, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Lobdell. We discussed this last time. Bill, you just give us a quick rundown on this. I think pretty straightforward.
Yes, the Plan Commission City Council approved a subdivision plat that took a section of the Terra Vesta subdivision and one of the blocks and divided it from 5 lots into 8 lots. And the subdivision improvement agreement allows for the city to enforce their development rights for the sidewalk improvements for the public sidewalk improvements, grading improvements, erosion control, and making sure that everything is complied with to meet city standards.
Questions for Bill?
What was the reason that they wanted to add the extra lots when it was laid out to start with at a certain square foot?
I don't have that information, Dave, I'm sorry. It was just a reconfiguration of the lots to get 3 more lots out of 5. So that's all I really have the information that I know about.
Okay.
And I
Thank you.
think the concern last time we saw this was this seemed like an awfully suspicious way of kind of getting around any sort of existing requirements. Given approval, is this a one-off, or is this something that the city is actively looking to do? How do you see this moving forward?
That really falls into the planning and zoning area as far as meeting the requirements for platting. If we can provide the services to them, from the public works perspective, we'll do that. So we do have comment on them if they want to, every time a plat comes forward, whether we can service those lots or not.
Bill, this has been posted, so the surrounding properties have been made aware of this, that they, I'm not going to have an angry mob show up here and why did you do this? It's higher density than we wanted. I think we've heard those, or the city's gone down those a few times. This has been posted. The other properties around there are aware of this, I guess is what I'm asking.
Correct. Yeah, the current owners and developers have all been made aware of this plat they're noticed through our public notice process, and they've all been made aware.
I was just saying, I don't know anything about planning. I don't want to get involved. I'm a little uncomfortable with this, but it sounds like we have followed due diligence. Any other questions?
Does
Call-
this go, and you said plan did approve this one?
Yeah, planning and the city council approved the plats.
All right, I call the vote. All in favor of resolution R 91-21 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we get into interesting ones. All right, resolution R, go ahead, Kim.
I'm also recusing myself from items G and H.
G and H, okay, thank you, Kim. Okay. Next, 5G, resolution R 101-21, approving agreement with Wisconsin and Southern Railroad for rail crossing improvements at Sain and Lacey Road. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Gronetsky, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Wilborn. Discussion, this is a big, this is a fairly sizable cost for these things. Bill, do you want to give us the background on it? I think most of us have dealt with this for a while, but run it past us here one more time.
Sure. At the intersection of Lacey Road and Sain Road, there's a railroad crossing that's there just to the east of the intersection. It's fairly close to the intersection, and in order to obtain a quiet zone compliant intersection, there's improvements that need to be made to that regarding with the signals, with some medians that need to be installed, preemption on the railroad tracks. And we had estimated with the traffic that's going through there would be, a left turn lane installed at the intersection. So the crossing is going to be expanded. The city saw this as an improvement that was required from the TID 4, the Nine Springs, Uptown. I'm not sure which plat or subdivision it was improved for, but the TID 4 was created to improve this intersection, and we set aside some funding for that specific railroad crossing. Our expenditure period is going to run out on May 27th of 2021. And in order to obligate those funds for construction, we need to approve a contract with any agencies to be able to obligate those funds for construction. We will not be constructing in 2021, but we do need to have the funds obligated in 2021 in order to secure those for construction and use in 2022 and beyond. So in order to meet that deadline, we're pretty much up against the wall right now to be able to get that through. We're not saying that it's going to run that full amount of the construction. This is an estimate with a lot of contingencies in it because we don't have the full design amount. But it is just saying that we're going to set aside this amount of money to be used for the construction of the improvements for the railroad crossing in this area.
Bill, thank you for that excellent explanation. Questions for Bill?
So if I'm understanding correctly, we're writing a check today for, is it 800 or 600?
This one would be 600.
Okay. So we're writing a check for 600 today. They're going to cash it, and then they're going to do the work shortly after, but we just need to make sure they cash the check before May 27th.
Well, now that you phrase it that way, I've got a different answer for you. Yeah, we're not cashing any checks. We're not writing any checks. We are putting money in escrow to be used for the construction of this.
Okay, and that has to happen by May 27th.
Correct.
Okay. And then as these are estimates and they're bound to ebb and flow a little bit, that money, if it's not used, would come back into the TID. So if it comes in under budget, that money just goes back into the TID funding, or is for at the end of life here, and if it comes in under, great, we just never get to use it on anything else.
I'm not exactly sure what happens to that funding. It might, I can't speculate. I don't want to say one way or another. It's out there. If it goes into the general taxes, or I don't know what it does. That's a finance I can find out for you.
I'd imagine it stays with the TID, and if we don't ever use it, we don't ever use it. But
And Michael, could you follow up with Misty to get that answered?
yeah.
Well, you can do that, okay. Thank you. I just want to make everyone aware of this, the city owns that. Do we own that railroad? Or I thought we.
Did it one time, and I believe it's been given back.
Is it given back to Wisconsin Southern? Is that right? That it is not heavily used. The only customer is the, I don't know if it's quarry or the lumber yard in Oregon, and the road, it ends there. And I don't know if there's more than one delivery a month on that. I don't think the horn would be going off very often, and the train goes about 25 miles an hour. So it's one of these things, if it was an Amtrak or whatever, but doing little, I'm not sure degrades our neighborhood that much. I am concerned, I would share, Jim's concern from a safety standpoint. People are killed by trains going 25 miles an hour every year. We see the statistics. Any other questions on this? Okay. We'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R 102-21 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're getting there. Stay with me a little bit more. All right, the last one, we're not quite there. Resolution R 102-21, approving agreement with MG&E for undergrounding overhead power lines associated with rail crossing improvements at Sain Road and Lacey Road. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Gronetsky. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ken. All right. So here we are, if I understand this right, Bill, the overhead power lines feel they would be in conflict with crossing gates that would be installed. Is that the gist of this? And we're going to evaluate whether, we want to maybe move the line, put a taller pole in versus putting it underground? Or is it just they've made up their mind, the city made up their mind that power lines are ugly and we have to put them underground?
Yeah. We do have some conflicts with the traffic signals that would be installed at this intersection, as well as the railroad crossing. They would prefer to have the lines undergrounded rather than having something above ground that could be hit and lie across the tracks. So, the railroad is encouraging the city to install this as well, or to do the undergrounding. It's a pretty big junction in that area with the east-west and north-south power that comes through that area. So it's a little bit more complicated than just burying a line. There's a lot of junctions that come into that. So what you see before you is an estimate that is on the very high side, as we learned from Lacey Road, that we don't want to be too low or make assumptions that are too tight. That we want to give the flexibility to recognize those issues that might come up as contingency, and not build it too tight where the cost looks great, but they're going to come back in the long run. So as I had meant, as the previous item had gone forward to look to obligate the funds within the TID to pay for the intersection, this is a cost that can be recognized by the TID. And we wanted to make sure that we had the funds available for that so that as they go forward with the design, we're able to take advantage of that, the health of the TID to take care of that, and it wouldn't go to the general taxes then.
Bill, is there, is the railroad going to try to hit up MG&E, some obscene number for an easement, you know, to bore a line underneath their tracks? You know, I see how these things get layered up. Is that a possibility? You know, I know railroads like to make money that way occasionally. It's their right of way and they're gonna get something out of it.
Yeah, I don't know how much they're gonna push to have compensation for that easement. We've been working really well with them. We have a good relationship with the crossings that we've been putting in recently over at Central Park Place.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got a pretty good relationship. I hope that would continue through where there isn't a lot of easement costs, or if there is one, we would have to figure that one out and go forward from there.
Okay,
That
thank
would
you.
be, you know, as part of the estimate, whether we go overhead or underground. With that.
Thank you, Bill.
Bill, is this the same deal as the previous one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
First,
Yeah,
we're
we're just,
just putting 600 into escrow. This one, we're putting an additional 711 into escrow.
correct.
Thank you.
I have just one question for you, Bill. Is Madison Gas gonna stay with their quote? Because we had quite a problem on Lacey Road when the road was done with them charging us, and we had a mess over it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of your question.
The question is will Madison Gas and Electric stick with this price? Because we had an awful mess with them when the road was done out here, where all of a sudden we got nailed big time.
Yeah, their estimate has gone through several layers of review through their organization to make sure that their costs are covered through this.
Thank you.
I would just add, you know, like I say, we spent a lot of money, you know, where the road crosses this tracks a couple times for a minimally used track right now. There's almost no delivery, but there is, you know, there's a possibility in the future that would be a commuter rail corridor. That's always been our hope. That's part of why that uptown was developed. You know, that's always been in mind. So I try to have a little bit of vision. I'm not usually my vision is what's the tax is going to be next year, but try to have some vision on this, and hopefully that, you know, there'll be more use on this down the road, that these investments will be justified. Any other questions? Call the vote. All in favor of resolution R 102-21 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, resolution R 100-21, approving amendment to construction contract with IGE for Fish Hatchery Road left turn lane reconstruction. We have a motion to approve this resolution.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Grunetsky. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Jim got in first, second by Wheeler. Bill, give us the rundown on this.
Yes, at the intersection of East Trail Parkway and Fish Hatchery Road as you're going southbound, due to the amount of development that's happened with Promega and associated businesses along East Trail Parkway, and development that's happened to the east, there's a lot more traffic that is using East Trail Parkway from Fish Hatchery Road. So what you'll see there is, you know, in the morning and during the commuting times, you'll see a lot more traffic backing up into that lane that gets into the main line of Fish Hatchery Road, actually. And we've pretty much tweaked our traffic signal timings as much as we can to be able to accommodate as many cars as we can through there. And we really do need to extend that out as part of the project. This is part of another one of the TID 4 expenditures that need to be completed and obligated by May 27th to, as part of the project plan to extend the turn lane. We saw this as a project need. And in order to streamline the bidding process, we've got an existing contract with IGE for the reconstruction of Fish Hatchery Road between McKee Road and Greenway Cross. And we had asked the contractor if they would approve those same prices to do the turn lane construction, since it's very similar to the work that's being done up there. The contractors agreed to do that, so they've held the prices the same for most of the bid items. There's a few of them that we didn't have bid items for that for mobilization and traffic control that were kind of custom to this project. So those costs are increased a little bit, but we're looking to obligate the funds for the TID 4 expenditure before May 27th for that portion of the project, which is about 75% of the turn lane area, the extended turn lane. At the same time, we're looking to replace the existing turn lane that's out there. The pavement has failed. And what we're going to do with that one is split the cost between Dane County and the city of Fitchburg at 50-50. So Dane County has agreed to participate in that maintenance item for the reconstruction of the existing part of the turn lane so that we can have a good turn lane all the way through there along with the extended one. So tonight we're asking for approval to for the construction of the change order for the construction of the turn lane. That'll happen sometime this summer when they're doing the McKee Road intersection with the concrete paving.
Thank you, Bill. Excellent explanation again. Questions for Bill? Any? I have one. Do we have a contingency left on the project? This isn't with it, that this would fall within our project contingency?
Yes, we've got contingency within the resurfacing program. We have funds that we were going to use to offset the cost of the city's portion of this project, as well as the TID portion. We do have money available.
Then the second question was, so this, the need for this, I don't want to say caught us by surprise, but are we seeing a change in traffic patterns that we didn't identify this earlier, Bill? You know, this, granted, the design on this was almost 2 years ago, but is it just a change in patterns?
No, this is further south. This is south of where the Fish Hatchery Road project currently is.
Okay, you're right. I'm
That's
sorry,
within
Kim.
the project limits, so it's not even really a part of that project, which is why I didn't recuse myself from this item.
Thank you, Kim. All
I
right.
do remember this one from a couple of years back, talking about the left turn lanes as part of this and whose jurisdiction it actually was for left turn lanes. Bill, can you just kind of give us the rehash on that?
Sure.
County road, shouldn't it fall under theirs?
Right. Dane County is responsible for the maintenance of the existing pavement that's out there. And so they are participating 50-50 with the replacement of the existing turn lane. Where the extension comes in, the city's on the hook for that, the new pavement that's being installed out there. So the extension part of it is all city cost.
And we're doing that on their road, more or less.
Correct. They're allowing us permission to extend the turn lane on their road.
Okay. And this is all being done at the same time, all getting coordinated nicely.
Yes, we'll be doing that with the McKee Road project, or the intersection at McKee and Fish Hatchery. The contractor up there is doing the same work down here.
And then remind me why they're doing 50/50 with us for the turn lane resurfacing as it currently exists.
Typically on maintenance projects, they will participate at 50/50 costs with the city, within the city jurisdiction. No. Oh. Dean County has their typical cost share agreements participate at 50/50 for maintenance items, and this is an eligible project cost for them, so they're participating at 50%.
This is so we're saving by doing this same time the construction folks are mobilized. There, we're saving some money. Am I correct, Bill?
Yes.
Okay. This was similar to when they were doing Verona Road and we had them do the roundabout at Fitchburg and Nesbit. That was similar, by having them mobilized there were lower costs. Any other questions for Bill on this? Call the vote. All in favor of resolution R 100-21 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Brings us to the last agenda item. I do want to add one thing. Bill, I believe on Wednesday, the ad hoc committee is for Lacey Road you have a meeting with them again, I believe at noon on Wednesday. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think we're trying to coordinate a date on that one. Let me double check before I get too far on that.
I believe it was May 5th at noon was the last I saw.
Yeah. I thought it was noon, but I could be wrong. Man, if you have time, if you want to listen in, a lot of people are providing input, trying to come up with a good design. So if you have time and you can listen into that, I would encourage you to do that. Okay.
And just, I did miss the last one, but I will say this, it does seem as though it got real designy real fast as opposed to just taking a look at approving a typical section. And Andrew's been doing a fantastic job in trying to both move things along at a proper pace and collect as much input as possible. There's a lot of design elements, actual design elements that are being discussed, and we don't have a typical section laid out yet.
Yeah. And Michael, thank you. I would echo. I'm very, very pleased that Andrew was with the city and working on this. Really a lot of good feedback from him. Very, very measured, calm. When others aren't that calm, so he's doing a great job on this. Thank you. All right, our next meeting is May 17th, and I believe would we have on the agenda to approve a cross-sectional area at that meeting, Bill? Does that timing sound right?
Yeah, that's the last meeting that we have available for
Okay.
Public Works to consider this, unless you have a special meeting before the 25th. But we're hoping to have, a sound recommendation by the 17th.
Sounds good, thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Wilburn, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Wheeler. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.